Hey everyone, this is right on time, episode number 2. Today's will be a little bit shorter than the first one, which technically the last one was the first one. I'm titling this one the Redraft, and this one will be a little bit. Not only will it be shorter, it's going to be better, and not necessarily because it's shorter, but because this time I have an outline. Right? I didn't just want to throw something out there. I was like, you know what? Let's plan something. Let's have something meaningful. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the progress, right? Because again, I wanted the whole purpose of this was to have some type of venue for accountability, right? And I thought, well, what better way to do that than to share it with the world on YouTube, right? So that everyone can be like, hey, who's this guy and what accountability is he talking about? So this last week, I've written every day, except for the weekends, right? My days to write are Monday through Friday, so technically the work week. I get up super early and I dedicate 45 minutes. Technically, it's 51 minutes, but by the time you turn on your computer, you get all the docs ready. It takes a few minutes. So I account for 45 minutes of pure writing time. Sometimes it's less, not because everything's not working, but because I do research. Like, hey, is this a real place? What does this look like? Can this work? You know what I mean? So, but progress is good. We're progressing. I want to say I'm about halfway through chapter 7, and once I'm finished with chapter 7, I'll be halfway through the novel. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk about the title. I in my mind I was thinking one of my favorite. I don't know if it's a phrase, but the two words shepherd king. You really don't see them. I mean, not in movie titles. Not because I like that, because I like those two words together and what they mean so much. I assumed, well, someone else has had to use it plenty of times, right? It's got to be used, and I googled it, and I saw. I don't know if they're books, articles, or a journal, and if it's a book, it's nothing like what I'm thinking, right? It's definitely not a novel, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Shepherd King is it's historical. But I didn't want to use it in that application. I wanted to use it for my novel. And then I thought, okay, so is it going to be a title? Yes, it's part of the title, but is Shepherd King going to be a title? Like, are you talking about someone? So then I thought maybe it's a surname, right? So then I was like, well, let me look up Shepherd and King. Let me look up those two words in different languages, right? And which is when I stumbled onto the German, which is Schäfer Konig, right? Which is, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. Please feel free to send me a YouTube with a correction on it. But that just sounded really cool to me. And then again, remember, sticking with the military theme, I was like, well, okay, so we have his surname, we know what the soldier's named. What's the thing though? I thought, well, whatever we're joining this super soldier to do, I think it should be the last one that he does, right? Because I think that'll get your attention, because now you're looking at a super soldier that has been through it, that has been tested, that has fought their way out of numerous battles, and they're still alive, and somehow by some miracle they're still whole, right? Which is it happens, but those are the 1% of the 1%. You know what I mean? Like it's like. And I think that's why they're so sought after, and they're so famous, because it's hard to be in the military. It's hard to be the 1% of the military, and then to serve for long enough to the point where you can be like, no, that's literally a career. Let's again 20 years, right? Let's say someone does serve at that level for 20 years. And they're still physically and mentally whole. I mean, that you have to be the elite of the elite of the elite. I mean, really, I just can't imagine any other way to phrase that. So again, I was like, okay, I want it to be his last mission, right? But the Shepherd King's last mission, it just doesn't sound good. And I was like, well, final. It sounds terminal, it sounds fatal. Like I think it will grab your attention more than the word last or whatever. I'm sure there's more synonyms for the word last, right? That have more weight than last, but I just really like final, right? The finality of it. It just has, and it has a nice ring. And then the next word, I was like, well, if it's going to be his mission, final mission, the Shepherd Kings FM. I'm like, it's not a radio station. I don't like that. And then the word outing came to mind, right? And I know that outing is it's been used in the military. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you want to say it's an olden word, but I feel like it's a word that the older crowd will appreciate. And it just sounded good, the Shepherd King's final outing. I'm like, hey, it doesn't rhyme like you would think of a rhyme. It just rolls nicely. All right. Also on the weekend, so again, like I said, I only write Monday through Friday. I treat it like my second job, right? I punch in, I punch out, because I just felt like that would be the best for me. Because if I didn't set a time, if I didn't separate something, it would just be, oh, I haven't written anything in 3 weeks. So let me see what I can muster up with, right? And that becomes really, how can I say it? You lose steam, right? And you don't. I think that's the one thing you don't want to do, right? If you can keep momentum, and again, there are even within these days that I have a schedule set for myself, there are days where I write more than others, right? Some days you're just in the zone, and some days I'm kind of sad when my alarm goes off, and I'm like, man, I gotta go. I'm like, I want to keep writing, but I have my job, my paying job, not my passion job, that I gotta go knock out. So, but I wouldn't know that, or I wouldn't enjoy that if I didn't have a set schedule that I impose on myself, right? So again, and getting back to the weekend, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. But on Sunday, this past Sunday, I did do a quick rewrite, and I remember I said that I don't. And the reason, really, the number one reason I don't write Saturdays and Sundays, it's not because I don't want to. Believe me, I'd love to, but you have outings, right? You have people to see, you have places to go, you have other events, you know what I mean, and you want to spend time with your spouse, and you also want to work on that, right? So that was another reason that I was like, okay, I'm not going to dedicate time for my writing 7 days a week. And I think maybe, who knows, maybe I wouldn't enjoy it as much if I did that, right? Maybe it would become more of a chore as opposed to, I know I wake up super early, but this is really one of my favorite parts of the day, where I get to do what I believe I was born to do. So Sunday I did a rewrite, and that rewrite was just a brief dialogue between a soldier that's gone mercenary and someone of, I don't want to say high rank, because that would sound like they're in the military. They're not, but someone with high power and great authority, right? When I first wrote the dialogue, it was pretty straightforward. Hey, we need you to do this. Why haven't you done it? Got it. Go finish the job. And I thought, if the stakes are really that high, and the mercenary is in a high stress situation, the dialogue probably wouldn't go like that. I didn't think it was realistic enough. I don't think I had enough gravity, right? So I did that rewrite, and I have a friend who's an author and a book writer and a very, very, like, he's really gifted, like anything that's silver screen, he can do any of that stuff. He told me, he said, look, he's like, there's no such thing as a good writing. There's only good rewriting. So I always remember that. And it inspires me, because I'm like, well, I can't rewrite something good if I don't have anything written at all, right? So let's get to it. So we talked about the title, my progress. Last thing is just future plans, right? I do plan, like my friend that I just mentioned, I do plan on having, because I do know a few other writers, published writers, right? Mind you, that I've picked their brains, and I thought, why not use this platform to have an interview with them and maybe get some golden nuggets, some wisdom that I can share with you. They'll share with me, and that, through this medium, I can share with the world, right? And I just thought it would be foolish not to do that. So just keep an eye out for that. Those will be coming out. Those are still in the works. So I can't tell you next week, because it won't be next week, but in a few weeks from now, we should have something. Last thing, as far as future plans goes, there is one episode that I'm really looking forward to outlining, to recording, and to definitely upgrading, or not upgrading, but uploading in YouTube. And that's going to be a title. I mean, it's going to be titled "It Is Written," right? Which means, hey, the book is ready. Now it's just where do I click send, right, and get this into everyone's. If I can't get it into your hands, at least get it in front of your faces so you can enjoy it. Or if you don't enjoy it, just hey, you read it and be like, it was all right, you know. And I'll take all the feedback, all the criticism you can muster. I'd really appreciate that. Last thing I'm going to leave everyone with is, look, if you can't write a book, write a page. If you can't write a page, write a paragraph. If you can't write a paragraph, write a sentence. Whatever you do, keep on writing. See you guys later. Have a good night.